I have a short video here today, and usually I wouldn't like to do a video about something this small, but I thought it was very important for me to cover due to the fact that this has been something I've harped on in many videos in the past. So now that we have clarification on it, I kind of have to give that to you lot to let you know as well. So recently it was reported by Stanley over on Twitter behind the scenes information in regards to the Terminus intro cutscene. So he found some information online, and as it turns out, Treyarch hired a third-party company contracted to make the cutscene based in Poland. And they did a fantastic job on the cutscene. I suspect they also did the Liberty Falls one and probably all of the other ones we've been seeing, and it is a shame we've not been getting intro cutscenes since Citadel Day more. It's definitely made the storyline lack a lot of flavor, but basically they explained how the carvings in Weaver's cell don't seem to have been tasked specifically by Treyarch to implement, or Treyarch's writing team to implement, or their lore team. Instead, this was just their own little thing that they decided to concept to add Easter eggs and references to the story of old. And honestly, it's amazing that they decided to do this because it adds flavor to the cutscene and creates so much mystery, and as they say, the community picked up on it a lot and were speculating about what these could mean. And I've seen lots of people in response to this saying, well, this means there's no importance to them, this means that Treyarch don't consider it canon. That's not necessarily the case. There are hundreds and thousands of people working on these games. It's a painting with many different brushes and creators. Anything that makes it into the launch of the game is something based in canon. It doesn't matter how they were implemented or who they were implemented by. It doesn't need to have been implemented by the direct Treyarch team, for example. You know, there's other studios working on these maps as well. Anything that makes it is canon. And regardless, I'm sure that Treyarch have seen all of the speculation in the community from these carvings and at least try to think about how they can incorporate that into the overall narrative. But that brings me on to the infamous, what we suspected to be the constructs from Vanguard Zombies carving, because as it turns out, it's been discovered by Tony Hale Wrapped that it is not the construct at all, and it's actually Operation 40. So this is simply a reference to Weaver's CIA past and Black Ops 1's campaign, because for a lot of new fans to the zombie storyline, of course Weaver was originally a campaign character, although his character has been developed and has had a lot more screen time now in Zombies than he ever got in the campaign. The faction's role in the campaign is mostly focused on the insurrection in Cuba and the planned assassination of Fidel Castro. Later they were assigned to destroy a rocket in Baikonur. However, intel reports show that Op 40 included an active recruitment drive to find suitable members for later black operatives. So this is throwing back to the good old days where Weaver worked alongside Hudson and Mason, and I think this is a really cool reference because it shows during the 5 years of captivity, Weaver was thinking about his entire history. And like I said, it doesn't matter that Treyarch didn't implement this directly, it still has a place in the canon. However, I do think it is a bit of a shame that the construct is not referenced here, because we've not heard from the construct since Vanguard Zombies, and it arguably is one of the biggest unexplained mysteries of the Dark Ether itself. It literally has been there since the Dark Ether seemingly began, and essentially has the ability to grant Archons infinite power. The fact it's not been followed up on is completely crazy, and I can understand that Vanguard Zombies was not well received, but I think it did great lore building for the Dark Ether realm itself that even tied back to the old Ether days, and it's a shame that that's not been followed up on, because something that is this powerful inside the realm really needs an answer to it. And whilst I like the reference to Operation 40, I do wish that it was indeed the construct, because now it kind of doesn't make sense regarding the other things in Weaver's cell, regarding the fact he's had seemingly dreams of old ones contacting him, because there's reference to him having cursed dreams, and then there is also two different Elder God symbols shown. So I even made a whole video breaking down this intro cutscene, and we were thinking at the time this is surely going to tie into the plot of Black Ops 6, where, you know, Weaver might have been getting corrupted by Dark Ether entities through dreams, and they're going to get him to do his bidding. But since we've received this cutscene, it's not been followed up on at all, so it could be that's because Treyarch never really factored it in. However, Treyarch incidentally have made tons of references to Cortifex. Literally in the last 3 seasons, he's been referenced in the Tombs ending, he's been referenced in Shattered Veil's intel, and was even referenced recently in Grief quotes as granting the Sentinel artifact. And I wonder if the reason why Treyarch have harped on Cortifex influence so much so, despite the fact that the construct itself has not been followed up on, and obviously the construct was largely tied into Cortifex's goal, is maybe because we thought that this symbol was the construct, and so Treyarch ran with that idea. I don't really know, but I think this is a good example of how us, the community, can kind of get a ahead of ourselves and jump to conclusions quickly, and it turns out they're not exactly true. So it is a shame, but at least we can put this to rest now, and we can stop speculating about the construct at all, at least in terms of Weaver. Will the construct ever be referenced again or become important to the storyline? I do not know. Or will it just become something that always remains enigmatic and a mystery and is never expanded upon any further? We will have to see. We don't need all of the answers, but the thing is, when you introduce something as powerful as this, it has to surely tie back into the stuff with Dr. Monty and the Shadow Man in the old story. Anyone in the Dark Ether would know of it, and something that powerful completely changes our understanding of the entities controlling the zombies, etc. For example, we've speculated, maybe even Zykov could have become an Archon and helped him gain so much power as the Forsaken when he consumed the other old ones. That could be why, but it's never explicitly said. But anyways, let me know all of your thoughts on this in the comments below. Are you disappointed by this news, or does it not really bother you? Or do you prefer that it's actually a reference to Operation 40 rather than it being a reference to the constructs? It is a shame that we've not gotten good cutscenes like this since then, and I'm hoping that Black Ops 7 Zombies has intro cutscenes, pre-rendered cutscenes every single map to really flesh out the original characters, especially since we're going to be going into the Dark Ether in the game. They have the opportunity, if they want, to reference back to things like the construct or back to old lore that they haven't tapped from the Dark Ether for a long time. I'm so glad we're finally going to be getting a Dark Ether game with alternate histories. But anyways, thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not for the latest and greatest Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.